Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk about some differences I've noticed between living in England and Scotland. If you're new here, welcome, or if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. On this channel I talk about anything that springs to mind and is worth contemplating and discussing. In the last few days, one of my comments on one of my videos from a new subscriber says that they've just recently become interested in British culture and the British Isles generally. So to that end, I thought I would make a video about the differences that I've noticed between living in England and living in Scotland, because I spent most of my life in England and the last 2 or 3 years living in Scotland. And I thought, well, other people might be interested in it too. In England, your water rates are normally in a separate bill. Like you get your energy bill, your rent, your, I don't know, phone bill, whatever. It's all a separate thing. You might get one or two landlords or even one or two councils that include water rates in with your rent, but that's few and far between these days. In Scotland, the water rates, water and sewerage rates, are included in your council tax bill. Whether that makes it a little bit higher, I can't remember, because I was travelling about for a couple of years before moving up to Scotland. Between time, well, I just rented my room, so I didn't have to worry about any of that. Having said that though, I do like the combinedness, if that's even a word, of that, and then you don't have to bother with, oh, this being separate, that being separate. Something then that I like about living in Scotland, should I choose to take advantage of it, I haven't at the minute, but if I did want to, Scotland is pretty well renowned for being one of those countries that is giving free tuition fees, like in colleges and universities. There are some places that are private, like where courses are offered and you pay a small fee, but that's normally just if you choose to do it. Say some of your courses where you stay at a location over a weekend or a few days or something like that, you pay for that kind of thing. Or some of the places down in the borders where they're part English, part Scottish funded, you have to pay there, but not in your local college or your university. You just have to pay your books and the accommodation and skip your tuition fees. To give you an example, quite a number of years ago now, I was trying to do a course. I didn't end up completing it, but anyway, I started doing a course that would have been 3 years. This was still when I was living in England, and for that course they wanted £5,000 a year, and that was about average, medium, because sometimes you could at that time expect to pay £9,000 or £10,000 a year for tuition fees, depending on what course it was. As far as I know regarding the thing of tuition fees, something that's great, actually, it's a pretty similar thing in Wales, but if you go to the doctor and you get prescribed something on the NHS, for the most part prescriptions are free in Scotland, whereas in England you have to pay for prescriptions if you're not in receipt of certain benefits, or if you're not meeting some other kind of requirement. In Scotland, normally, how do I put this? Normally you have to pay for dentist prescriptions, but if you're on certain benefits, again, you don't have to pay that. You don't have to pay doctor's prescriptions in general, which is a good thing if you're somebody that needs medication on a regular basis. having said that though, in Scotland I've noticed rather than send you to your local hospital if you need something done, they would sooner send you to one further away that is offering a quicker time than they would to your local one, even if the local one does the same thing. Now, in this area where I live, by all accounts, services have gone downhill a bit because, for example, although you can give birth to a child in the Perth hospitals, you'd better do so without any complications whatsoever, otherwise you'll end up being rushed to Dundee. So I've met people who have actually opted to, those that have had children in hospital anyway, I've met people who have opted to have their child straight at Dundee rather than risk having to be transferred. Similarly, I'm waiting for some dental stuff to be done, and I can't even remember where I'm getting transferred to. It's like, I don't know, Aberdeen, Angus, Glasgow, I don't even know where, but somewhere that's not Perth anyway. I asked my dentist at the time, can I not just go to Perth, because it's easier to get to and from the Perth hospital than it is to get all the way from wherever that other hospital is. And they're like, well, no, because they'll be quicker, but because I'm having stuff done under general anaesthetic, they don't, you know, obviously they want you to go take private transport home, which is very counterintuitive because, well, you can't get private transport if the hospital is miles away. Like, that's not going to happen. Whereas in England, they do actually try to get you, as far as I know anyway, they try to get you in a place that's closest to you most of the time. Although sometimes they just send you to any random place, which I'm pretty sure is a test to see if you actually get there or not. No, I don't know. What else? Oh yeah, I can't confirm this, but I'm told that on the Scottish banknotes and coins, there are actually different faces than are on the English ones. I thought it was all the same, apart from the fact that one was issued by Bank of Scotland and one was issued by Bank of England. But apparently not. I know the English for some reason don't like taking Scottish currency, but Scottish really couldn't care less if you gave them an English note or an Irish note, a Welsh note, whatever, just as long as you gave them a note, like a sterling note that is considered legal tender. So, speaking of money, how about house prices? House prices, well, there's not, well, I don't know if you could say a humongous difference, but so the prices are more reasonable, I would say here, but you do Scotland is a lot more rural in places than in parts of England, but then you also get parts of England that are very rural. So you pay a premium to live in those kind of places because, well, you don't want those places to be overpopulated, so they deliberately charge slightly higher prices. Having said that though, I'm told the housing association prices here, what I pay is actually slightly less than what you pay in England than what we pay here in Scotland. Even though that price, the price that we pay in Scotland for housing association places is gone up in the last 2 or 3 years. It's gone up each year. In England, that price has gone up, but a lot more. Last but not least, I thought I would give an honourable mention or not to the royal family. So in England, people are, well, for the most part anyway, a lot of people absolutely love the royal family, and yeah, they just love the royal family. But in Scotland, people don't really mind. Sure, they respect that there is a monarch, but you know, they don't do as much of the ceremony and whatnot that the English do. Nor do they set as much store by bank holidays, like anything to do with celebrations of the royal family or bank holidays, observing those kind of things is more optional here in Scotland, but in England it's kind of the expected thing that you'll observe it, which is interesting from my point of view, because some members of the royal family have places in Scotland that they absolutely love. Well, that's some of the differences that I've noticed anyway, just off the top of my head, and yeah, I've noticed also that getting things done here can, well, it depends what you're trying to do, because some services can take a while because they're spread so thin on the ground, but some other services are a lot faster and even take about half the time than they do in England. It really depends what you're trying to do, as I say. So what else? I think that's all the things that I can think of. Well, has anyone else moved from England to Scotland or vice versa? Scotland to England? If so, feel free to leave comments on the video and tell us what differences have you noticed in the two countries. Technically, they're still both part of the UK, but Scotland in some ways would quite like to be independent, but in some ways they're like, nah, Westminster says we have to stay in the UK, and so okay then. So at the minute they're still part of the UK, and you don't need to do any passports or any other dealies to get here or go down to England. Anyway, as I say, feel free to leave comments and let's have a discussion. If you enjoyed that or found it interesting, please like, subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and I will see you all in the next video.